nigga to take over, nigga to take over, take over, nigga to take over, nigga the break's over, take over, nigga to take over, nigga to take over, nigga the break's over, take over, nigga.
Move fakers, get your back blown in Jamaica. Lay you in the earth and curse you and your maker. I told you fools to stop fucking with the Maki, Arab Nazi, blow holes in your Versace.
But I'm gonna fast forward into in between the stages of your career, where the second album from A&M and War Report, and how did you form the 25 to Life movement?
That's an excellent question. How did I form the 25 to Life movement? From the time of my second album, which was released on N.O.R.E Records, entitled Saga of a Hoodlum, because it was basically the after effects of the Intelligent Hoodlum album, to the War Report. That particular period in my life was a very crucial period. I started going through a lot of changes. I went through a lot of personal changes. I went through a lot of business changes, obviously, with Marley breaking away from that whole camp, and it was a little terrifying for me, because you know, I was used to having a mentor and a guider, you know, but not really, you know. And later on I realized that I was always guiding myself anyway, to a large degree. But that's not to take anything from Marley and say I didn't learn anything from, you know, because I did. But it got to a point where I realized that, you know, it was time for me to kind of, you know, get out on my own and stand on my own. And you know, I was bringing certain things to the table with Marley, and I felt like I wasn't getting the respect I deserved, or the credit. Like, for instance, you know, a lot of people don't, you know, a lot of people would never know that, you know, Lords of the Underground was my concept. Yeah, and Marley, you know, kind of took that, you know, and gave it to a group. That was my whole concept. Me and Marley would go into BET, and I was like, yo, man, I wanna start a group, and I wanna call them Lords of the Underground.
Wow.
You know, and I'm not saying this. I'm not saying this to shoot at Marley. It's just the truth. But I'm not saying it to shoot at Marley, because I love Marley and I respect Marley. You know what I'm saying? But and in all reality, had that not happened, there might not have been the thought of me to create a CNN or 25 to Life. Because once Marley took that, me having so much admiration for him, but not having enough confidence in my own ideas, when he took that, all he did was confirm that my shit works.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what he did. So in essence, he did me a favor by taking that.
Who, if you did create the crew of Lords of the Underground, who would you have put in at that time?
Well, at that time, I would have wanted it to be like me. I would have wanted it to be like me, Poet, Mega, and Craig G. At that time, like that's what was floating in my mind. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't concrete, but I had the title of the group, or the name of the group, and I had this concept of an underground group coming together and just making underground music. And you know, he took the idea and the concept, and he gave it to you know, he gave it to Funky Child and Funky Man, and you know, I got love for them dudes. They made great music. You know what I'm saying? And you know, there's no hard feelings. Like I said, it only confirmed that my ideas worked. And just you know, and at that point, after dropping my second album, and then me and Marley going through some differences, and me wanting to retain, you know, my rights back as an artist, you know what I'm saying, and me and him going through that, and you know, breaking off out of that production deal, I had moved to Atlanta, and and I was kind of, you know, I was out there, and I was just out there gaining weight, getting fat, just laying up in the crib. You know what I'm saying? And I was, you know, I was writing music, and I was like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not feeling this, like, and I had a moment of clarity, and in that moment of clarity, it was like, yo, this is not for you right now. This living, it was peaceful, it was great, it was something I never really had in my life, you know, but it wasn't for me at that moment. And the bridge was calling me, so I said, you know what? I left the woman I was in a relationship with, and basically was like, listen, I gotta get back. I gotta go back to New York. I gotta go back to the bridge. And she was like, yo, like, what you gonna do? Like, I'm like, I'm just gonna go live in the bridge. You know what I'm saying? And I went back to the hood, and niggas thought I was broke, and I wasn't. You know what I'm saying? I just, you know, went back to the place that sparked me. You know, like Muslims making Hajj. You go back to the, you know, the city of Mecca. and you circle the Kaaba, you know what I'm saying, and you make your Hajj. To me, that was me going back to my Mecca musically. For me to go back to the bridge. So when I went back to the bridge, you know, and this is basically answering your question in terms of the war report, how that came into birth in 25 to Life. And I went back to the bridge, and you know, I would just go sit on the block. Dudes would walk right by me. They didn't even know it was me, because they wasn't used to seeing me on the block like that for like 2-3 years. Yeah. So they were, oh shit, yo, what up, son? What you doing out here? You know what I'm saying? And they be chilling, and we wound up drinking a beer or something. And they be like, yo, you doing music no anymore? And at that time, like I was so into a zone where I was like, I didn't want nobody to know my plans. Yeah. I felt like they were so sacred to me.
That's how it gets sometimes. And I was like you got a great plan.
And they was like, yo, you still doing music? What you doing out here? I was like, nah, I don't do music no more. But I was lying. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I was lying. I had a whole scheme. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes
you gotta get to that point where you do Operation Fort Knox, where you don't let no one know, because you just feel like it's such a great plan. If somebody
you don't want to give that energy out.
Exactly.
And I didn't even know consciously what I was doing. Yeah. I just felt the need to do that. And I never used to do that. Like if somebody asked me what I was doing, I'd be like, yo, I'm doing this. You know, in this hip hop shit, you gotta sell you feel you gotta sell yourself. But at that time, I started just coming into a whole different mind frame where I was like, yo, you know what? I'm not gonna tell nobody I'm doing shit. Matter of fact, I'm gonna tell motherfuckers I'm not doing anything. You know what I'm saying? And I would just sit on the block. But while I was sitting on the block, I was absorbing everything.
Analyzing who's.
Yeah, and you know, and it was funny because I still didn't get the vehicles I needed, meaning the bodies I needed. Yeah. But I was coming up with the concept, and I was like, yo, Puffy and Bad Boy and shit, you know, they on some pretty shit. And I was like, you know, that's not me. I don't want to be a pretty dude. I'm not a pretty dude. You know, not nothing, you know, that's you do you. But I got my own concept. Yeah. You know, my concept is always struggle. My concept is always, you know, to balance the scale. So I was like, yo, you know what? I want to come totally opposite. And then like the woo dropped, and I was like, all right, they sort of confirmed what I was seeing too.
Exactly.
So, you know, I wound up, you know, meeting up with one of my mans, and he was like, yo, come meet in the studio, and I need you to put a verse. So when I went to the studio, he had another dude come, and the other dude brung with the world later got introduced to this artist as Capone. So me, Capone, and his man and my man, we in the studio. So my man is like, yo, he's from the bridge too. So I'm like, what? What's up? I'm like, what block you from? He like, oh, 12th Street or whatever. I'm like, all right, cool. So we start talking in 6 blocks. So it's like virtually a city. And another reason why I didn't think I knew him was because you got to remember, once I did my first album, I moved away. You know, I was 19, I got my own crib, you know, got the car and all that shit.
And a little bit of age difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So when I started talking to Capone and realized who he was, then I could picture him when I knew him. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I was like, oh shit, damn, you know what I'm saying? He's like, yeah, you know. And I didn't know him as Capone. I knew him as his government name when he was little as Cayenne. Yeah. You know, but he had allegedly shot a police officer and went away to DFY, did some time, so I didn't see him for you know, at that time I was just, you know, basically looking for talent, looking for the right individuals to fit into the concept that I had for, like, you know, for a new movement in hip hop. And you know, eventually, like I said, I got up with Cayenne, Capone, and Capone kept, you know, telling me about his man N.O.R.E. You know what I'm saying? And when I finally met N.O.R.E. when he came home from DFY, I was like, oh shit, I had knew N.O.R.E. already by his sister India, because I knew his sister India from Left Rack. And you know, we put it together. We started working on the first song we did was $500,000. And that wasn't on the War Report album.
It was on mixtapes.
It was on mixtapes. That was something we just kind of threw out there because I knew it would get better. Yeah. So I just was like, you know, let's just give this to the streets and just put this out there. So, you know, and the more we started doing, the more songs we started doing, the more it just started developing, and the more I seen it like manifesting into what I seen in my head, and like, you know, we did a few songs. Havoc was involved from Mobb Deep.
Let me ask you this question. Now, I always was like, I felt on that War Report, I'm a person attention to detail. The producers y'all had on there, at that time, was basically not as known as the producers like Premier or whatever, but they was, when you look back at it, you basically was bringing up legends on that producer game, from Buck Wild, Easy LP, Nassim Merrick, Molly was already established and all that, and Havoc, that was like 97, so it was only like maybe a few years after people hearing Havoc's beats and all that, but it was like Lord Finesse.
Yeah.
Y'all had, like, when you look back at it now, it's like a star, it looks like a star-studded production team,
yeah.
But at the time, most people didn't know these cats, you know what I mean? What made you gravitate to those producers?
I mean, I'm not going to take all the credits as if to say, like, I just looked at it and was like, all right, I'm going to get this dude because, you know, he's going to be this and he's going to evolve into this. Like, I couldn't see that far down the line in terms of their production ability. But at the moment, they just had the right tracks. Yeah. They came with the right tracks, man. You know what I'm saying? They came with the pieces that we needed to put it together, man. And, you know, I got to give credit to, like you said, Buck Wild, Finesse, Nassim Merrick, you know, who was actually part of the Hitmen.
Yeah.
Under, you know, Nassim produced Who Shot Ya. He produced hit records for Puffy, you know, via, you know, Bad Boy or whatever. But
was Carlos Brody?
Carlos, that's yeah. I'm glad you said that. Carlos Brody's very instrumental in that, man. They was a team. Nassim was like the forefront dude, but Carlos was more behind the scenes, kind of like how, you know, how like Pharrell and Chad was.
Yeah.
You know, but they were both instrumental in making that happen. I'm glad you mentioned that, man. Peace to Carlos Brody, man. They definitely came through. They came with the right pieces, and like I said, man, you know, it all came together. And you know, I had the vision, but I couldn't have did it without the players too. Yeah. So I gotta commend the players, and the initial players is, you know, Capone-N-Noreaga, you know what I'm saying, my son Umar, you know what I'm saying, Lorenzo, you know what I'm saying, Imam Thug, Rafiq, you know what I'm saying, Sheikh Amir, you know, and Stretch Armstrong, and even Capone's mother, peace be upon her. She played a major part in 2-5 in the movement, because she kept the foundation in terms of a home, and giving us love and giving us guidance and giving us the freedom to do what we needed to do at that time.
That's what's up, man. That's really deep. And like when you was making, I always ask people this, when y'all was making that album, I know a lot of times people say they didn't know, but can you feel it in the air when you're making a classic?
No, I couldn't feel it in the air at the time. When I did feel it, it was when, like, one time I was walking through the projects in the bridge in like LA, it seemed like everybody was just banging it in their cribs, and I was just sitting on the block. This was like a random moment, and I was just sitting on the block, and I was like, oh shit, everybody's playing this shit. You know what I'm saying? And it was a female in my hood, you know what I'm saying, named Nelly Chanel, and she walked up to me and she was like, Laha. And I was like, yo, what the fuck she talking about? She was like, Laha. And I was like, why she keep saying that shit? And then I realized what she was trying to say, because she was like trying to mimik me on the LA when I was like, La ilaha illallah, illallah. And I was like, oh shit. So every time she see me, she like, what's up, Laha? You know what I mean? Word. Peace to Nelly, man. Chanel, word. But you know, it was like, you know, it was a pivotal moment, because I was able to see like what was transpiring at that moment when I got the response from the people. And it's funny, because I talk to a lot of artists now, and they be like, yo, I want to get you on this track. Yo, I'm telling you, I'm making a classic album. And then
they don't know the value of a classic.
And they don't understand they don't understand the makings of a classic. Like, you don't define the classic. The people defines the classic. And I try to tell, I had this young dude hit me the other day, like, yo, I'm telling you, you want to be on this. Like, he was trying to get me to come down on my feet. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, listen, beloved, like, don't come at me with that, man. Like, come on,
you know what
you're talking to, man?
It's becoming a cliche, the word classic, because everyone's using it like they think. And this is what another thing is. I always tell artists, I tell anyone, a classic is not an album that I feel and you just play up and down and they have all good music. A classic is an album I feel that is pivotal and changes the movement, or changes the music itself and its time.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. And a classic also defines the moment.
And it transcends.
Like, it's like the Infamous album. When they came with that Infamous album,
No one was sounding like them.
Yeah, and even more than that, it's not even. It's like when they came with that album, it was almost as if they were speaking for an entire generation.
Exactly.
So, and when we came, I think with the War Report, we began to speak for an entire generation.
And like you said, that was an era, and people don't realize this. I'm gonna tell you this right now. It comes down to this. I remember that year, and I'm not gonna stunt or anything like that. I remember that year. They would drop Illegal Life, they would drop T.O.N.Y, and on the mixtapes, Puffy and them niggas had shit locked. You know what I mean? Had locked. Wu had shit locked, and they was anticipating a double album from Wu-Tang and Puffy's Biggie's album after he passed. And Yo Cats was flying under the radar, but had the bangers, but no one really knew because there was no prior work.
Yeah.
So I felt like that album just snuck up on everyone, because I remember, I don't know if it was weeks apart or whatever, Biggie album came out, the War Report dropped, and Wu-Tang's Forever, basically only months apart. And I remember going to the store, the record store, and yeah, you just buy records and all that, and purchase that and had no expectations at all. I just felt like I love fucking T.O.N.Y, and I loved Illegal Life and the other singles prior that I heard on mixtapes. I placed that shit, and it felt like, and I'm gonna tell you, these are the only tapes I ever in my life in the 90s that I played, and you just straight up knew this is a classic. Cuban Links, Illmatic, and probably Chronic. When I played War Report, I knew it off bat. And I always been like that through life. I'll play shit, or I'll play a song, I'm like, yo, if they drop, this is gonna be it. And cats will look at me like I'm all crazy and all that. But when I play that, I'm going through the hood, and cats are like, what do you got on? And that thing is like totally, because yo had, even though War Report was Capone-N-Noreaga, it was more like a Queensbridge compilation. You know what I mean? Well, you had a Mon Thug, you had, even though Mason Mussolini really wasn't from Queensbridge, they from Left Rack, that was still that sound. You had the whole 2-5 movement.
The thing with the 2-5 movement at that time, it wasn't solely based on Queensbridge.
Yeah.
It was based on, it was based on the 2-5 movement. It was based on CNN. It was based on the War Report. So Mason Mussolini was a part of that too. You know what I'm saying? And because they came by way of N.O.R.E's channel. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Just how Imam came by way of my channel. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So we all just basically put the ingredients together to create that movement. And I think, like, it wasn't a lot of people will base it on Queensbridge because Queensbridge had the bigger name. Yeah. That's why, I respect N.O.R.E for what he brung to that project.
Never really
because
heard, yeah.
That's right, he made sure that he made Left Rack a brand. Exactly. He made Iraq a brand. You know what I'm saying? And that was important to him, and ultimately important to us, because we wanted him to feel comfortable. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? And I can see at times he felt a little, the whole Queensbridge brand, in terms of the Bridge legacy, was a bit overwhelming to him, and he felt a sense of competition, which was good because it only brought out the best in him. You know what I'm saying?
But that time and that era, I felt like that was like the stunning. That was a sneak up classic because no one expected that. No one expected that in hip hop or anything. And when you look back at it, cats are gonna be like, anyone who hears that album, anyone who's too young to remember, go and cop that War Report. That shit is popping, man. That's a straight up modern day classic. But when after the War Report was done, you and the Mon Thug was supposed to do a project called the Iron Sheiks.